TV, laptop, or your PC, whatever you call it. Useless agent is on your Facebook, laptop, or your PC, whatever you call it. You guys doing today? Had an interesting day today with all the snow. If you are from Chicago, you should probably have realized by now we have no clue what our what our weather is going to be like ever. All right, let's just focus on a couple of little things here. As I stated before, we got some new lighting, and this seems to be the best color because it at least makes me look human. I don't come out as white because, you know, in real life I'm not a very pale person. So excuse me for one simple little moment. Okay. So sorry about that. I meant to do this earlier in the shot, but you know, it just didn't work out for me. So as I stated, we have different colors you can choose from. We have blue. Orange seems to be the best one because it really accentuates the, you know, the realistic colors, and I'm a very dark peach, so you know, I would like that to be conveyed as well as possible when on the show. So don't think I forgot. Just had to grab my lighter. And let's start off every day with our new friend Dexter here. And like I said, he's a gorgeous, gorgeous bowl with very uneven stripes that honestly look like blood splatter. It's a gorgeous bowl. It's a gorgeous bong. It really is. God, draws like a pencil. Now, alright. After I get my choking out of the way, as I usually do. Alright, let's get on with it. Today's episode was originally going to be on yesterday. We decided not to go with the topic yesterday because of the sheer fact that we were getting a lot of, I was getting a lot of questions from people I knew and people I didn't know that were all asking the same thing, trying to ask for what are some of the best quality guitars that you can buy for a very cheap price. Being a musician for the last about 25 years, not even, let's say 21 years, you know, I've gone through some of what I would consider the best guitars I've ever played, and then some I've gone through what I would consider the worst guitars I've ever played. And I started out with a a no-name brand guitar that was so poorly designed that the strings attached to the fretboard were like this far apart. You had to press so hard just to get a sound to be clear without any buzzing or um, any kind of other audio issues. And I loved the hell out of that thing until I got I believe it was a Fender, but I found it in an alley and tried to take as best care of it as I could. And I believe that's when my parents had broke down, and I didn't grow up in a rich household, so I couldn't, just ask for a guitar and get one. And honestly, at that time, when you're a parent, I can understand the thought process now. You constantly think that your kid is, in joining another fad, and that's where things turned around because I've been asking for the same thing since I want to say 12. And then by the time I was 14, 15 years old, I had given up on the Christmas list and just started using my money for my birthday. I took whatever money I had and bought an acoustic that you know it was, like I said, it was really a practice guitar. It was made to strengthen your fingers, and it wasn't made to be playing shows or anything. So the Fender I found outside had like 4 strings, and I fell in love with that thing because at least the strings were close together and easy to play. But my parents eventually broke down. They got me an Esteban, and of course, it came with these DVDs that were like some guitar tutorials and free guitar lessons for those that were really just approaching guitar for the first time. And I was one of those people. But I did not learn anything from those tapes. Those tapes really, when you got a guy like Esteban, who is very well known throughout the globe for being a very skilled acoustic guitar player. And he's also very well known for not using his picks, but his nails are actually so long. He plucks them. He basically plays pizzicato, but for all of his songs, and I respect that. But you can't ask people to learn that way. It just does not work. So, I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to, hear me out. And one of them, the one that I wanted to use the most as a reference point, I have given to my son because my son is 10. He's 8 years old, and he's at that age where when he's with me, he really wants to learn. And when he's at home, he doesn't have that same encouragement that I would give him, and sit behind him, get his fingers in motion, and all that was talked about yesterday. So I'm sorry, I'm rehashing all this stuff, and just realized it's been about 10 minutes of me just talking about yesterday's episode. But if you were confused as to why it broke the ordinary algorithm of how we do the show. It was kind of out of nowhere, but you know, people tend to do a lot of Christmas shopping around now when it comes to instruments because Guitar Center, places like that, have tons of sales around the holiday seasons, and of course, mattresses and guitars are like always on sale for President's Day. I don't know why, but it's just always been like that. Um, so, with all that being said, my final advice to anybody that was going out there and looking for a new gift box for their brother, husband, cousin, friend, whatever. I was just trying to give you the best ideas because you will be spending more than $70. Like I said, two of the guitars I showed on the show. One was a Glarry, and for a little while, Glarry was going around giving free guitars to all sorts of different YouTubers and influencers, and especially those that focused on music. They were giving out free guitars to basically promote and kind of advertise. So, um, I was not one of the privileged few that got those free guitars. So I was not one of them. So I paid $40 for my Glary, and if I could go back, I definitely would have asked to buy it for $25. It's a $50 guitar that you will get on sale and probably pay around 40. But when it shows up, it sounds fine for the first week. It'll sound fine, but you're gonna notice over a period of time the strings become very warped very fast, and the wood is very cheap. And personally, just not a fan of it. If anyone sends this to Glarry, hell, I might even do it and simply tell them all the issues that I have with the guitar and see if they mail me one of the nice ones, because they also make $200 guitars. But it seems like if you want a $40 guitar because you're on a budget, you shouldn't have to compromise the quality of a guitar because of its price. I understand you have to compromise the quality of the wood, the paint job, the overall building of said guitar. I understand that, but you know, $40 is nothing to sneeze at. No one's gonna be happy about losing $40. So I don't know. If you ask me, it's just definitely not worth that price. So moving on to today's topic. Today's topic is going to be all about strength. And the reason why I chose strength as a primary example and topic to run through is because of the constant misconception that weakness and strength are just seem to be like just very mixed up these days, and people take strength from from the wrong places, let's say. So now strength is, technically mostly viewed in physical terms. How much can somebody bench or deadlift, etc. There's absolutely nothing wrong with challenging the body's limits, and there's nothing wrong with testing your physical limits, because when you do things like that and you work out, there's definitely a release there that's a very positive release, and these are not just your strength's limits, but they're yours, and but it's not the litmus test for what strength is and what it truly is. See, strength is more of in my description here, strength is more of a metaphysical attribute brought on by years of personal training, but also brought to you by centuries and centuries of human evolution. And so, of course, genealogy plays a huge role in it. The strongest muscle in your body is actually your tongue, of all muscles. But let's just forget about the tongue and just say that it's the body's strongest muscle is not your bis. It's not your biceps. It's not your triceps. It's not your quads. It's some can argue it's the heart, but in my opinion, it's the mind. Your mind is a muscle, just like any other muscle. I like how Stevie from Malcolm in the Middle, he put it pretty well when he said the brain is a muscle. Use it or lose it. So your mind is a muscle that's like any other. Without respecting that, your potential will always just remain stunted. And oh wow, I dropped my own microphone. And so you can look at two different extremes, and it's funny how we already have this preconceived notion. So on one hand, you have the typical Hollywood action star, 6'6", $1 million bank account, physical trainers up the wazoo. The go-to guy that if there's a new superhero movie out or anything like that, this is the guy that they're gonna ask, And you put him on one side. Next to him, you look at this man, who I'm going to use as an example. His name is Anton Chekhov. Now, Anton Chekhov was a playwright in the 19th century. He died at the beginning of the 20th century. He was very unintimidating in stature. He obviously was, he just was not the tallest guy. I think he was like 5'8", and a very simple thin guy. And so the obvious person to call the strong one, of course, would be the big guy. But strength relies in so many different realms of reality, from the not just the physical, the metaphysical, the emotional strength, mental strength, emotional strength, even spiritual strength. None of these things usually get included. So you have to remember that strength is what you see, but it's the external. And so now, what if I told you the big celebrity has been rich his entire life? So of course he's got trainers, he has tutors, every opportunity you can ask for. this celebrity has it. Now, let's go back to my control example, which is Anton Chekhov. All right. So, at Anton, at the age of 15, 16, his family abandoned him completely. And he was, again, a teenager. So he has no real life skills. He has nothing that's going to bring him about any kind of miraculous salvation. He managed to self-educate himself. By the age of 18, he managed to really learn that hatred and complaining was not going to get him anywhere. So, this guy not only educated himself, but he managed to put himself in his father's shoes, which is probably one of the most difficult things for any human being to do, is to empathize with someone that they really, really don't agree with or don't like or simply hate. And he had basically learned to see his father as a man rather than his father. So he saw him as a deeply flawed and fearful man. He lied a lot. So when you lie a lot, you know, if you lie in general, you only lie for one reason. You're obviously afraid of something. Nobody lies unless, I mean, there of course will always be exceptions, but for the most part, nobody lies just a lie. Most people lie because they're afraid to tell you the truth. You know, you're fucked up, and you end up screwing your friend's girl of interest, a girl that he liked. You are afraid to hurt your friend's feelings, and so if he had asked you, did you do anything, well, you might lie, and it's because you're afraid. The truth is, fear and apology, not necessarily apology, but fear and lying go together hand in hand, because you're afraid to tell the truth because of some repercussion. And by lying, you basically have just given in to that exact fear. So, let's see. So, as I was saying, this man, you know, by the time he was a grown man, Anton Chekhov was successful. He never asked for anything, but simply believed in himself, and anything he wanted, he took it. And I don't mean with a gun. He paid for it. He worked and he got it. And he became not only just a playwright, but an intellectual. So, when you look at the average actor that's supposed to be the tough guy in a movie, they tend to be very different in the real world. And you hear this all the time about the Schwarzeneggers or the Sylvester Stallones. Maybe not them in particular, but we know what type of guy we're talking about. You know, the big action star. And so you look at the average one, and you notice they tend to be very whiny and complaining about how much they get paid or where their trailer is, and it's because their strength is 100% superficial. It is strength in order to get the role. It's not real strength. And muscles are not strength. Strength is strength. So, without any mental or spiritual strength, physicality means little to nothing. And another great example of this, I've seen it used in another story that people like to use the story of Samson. Now, in the Bible, Samson was a man that could take on entire armies. He was a Herculean individual. Um, but he ends up being manipulated by a woman, and his entire destruction comes from uh, the manipulation he's getting from a certain woman. And so, that shows the lack of mental strength and spiritual strength. A lot of times spirituality has to do with not your connection to God, but your connection to the very universe. And, we are all products of that universe. And we have to remember that strength comes in so many different forms, which is why if you have a guy that can outsmart, um, in so many situations you see like the little guy outsmarts the big guy, which hurts the big guy because the mental strength is there. So um, plenty of men tends to they use the Samson example to express how women are the end all be all of master manipulators. And I get this from a lot of males, and they use Samson as an example of how women are conniving and manipulating, which is just hilarious because by using women as the scapegoat for manipulation, you've managed to self manipulate yourself into believing that. Everyone is capable of being a master manipulator. It's just where you come from and how well you are with words. And how slippery is that tongue of yours? Can you have it slide through anything? Or just how silver is that tongue? That's the question. So, I always think that when men use that argument, it seems to be a very glib argument. Because you want to focus on the manipulation, not the sex of the manipulator. This is in no way a slight on females claiming that they are the only ones that use manipulation tactics. That's incredibly short-sighted. It's simply just stupid to say. It's not even ignorant, it's just stupid. And the point of which is like, if you're already easily swayed and incorrigible to people's words, and if you're already that incorrigible to people's manipulation, I guess, since we're focusing on that word, that's already a sign of weakness. If you are highly incorrigible, why do you think Bugs Bunny used to always say that? It's even in The Mask, but Bugs Bunny was always well known to say that to guys like Elmer Fudd or Yosemite Sam, because they would do something stupid, and the fact that they would just keep trying knowing that they're gonna fail, he always had that joke that this guy's incorrigible. It's not a good thing. You don't want that. So, um, you really want. So my point is that you should really know where you stand, and you should have respect, not just for yourself, but for what you're going through. You should have respect for your own goals, your attributions. Most of all, you should respect your own principles. You can, you can't know who you truly are without having your code of ethics being questioned. And that is a perfect way of knowing who exactly you are. Did you fold and tuck in your ethics? Or did you let them shine on your chest like the Superman symbol and just push through, knowing that not only you know where you stand, but that everyone else knows where you stand as well? Because you simply just can't have a self-perception without knowing your code, knowing your ethics, knowing your code of ethics. And to go against what you truly believe, apologizing when you know you're in the right, these are easy signs of weakness. Now, most people probably thought I was going to go on some tirade about how men are weak today. And it's not. It's a topic for another time, but the point of all of this is understanding where strength truly lies, and it doesn't just lie with how much you can bench and how much you can endure physically. Mental and emotional strength are key to having physical strength, because if you don't have your own code of ethics, you don't have morals, you don't have a simple way of attributing and really utilizing your own standing points to improve a situation. And without that being in question, without someone else questioning your code of ethics, you never really know if they're strong or not, because you don't know if you would turn on them right away. And fear itself is weakness's only attribute. It's its only characteristic. And in a way, I mean, we saw this coming. Those of you that are born basically anytime before 1989, most of us tend to see it. We saw it coming. We knew this was going to be not only a very strange future, but it was definitely going to be prevalent in our everyday lives, and we could see it coming with the soccer moms. The soccer moms were really the first ones to jump in, and no offense, but just kind of make everything suck. And weakness has been around the collective corner for a long time coming now, and we've always been watching it. And so from the soccer moms of the late 90s, began to really clutch their pearls at the media when video games like Grand Theft Auto came out of the underground, and just a new breed of kids were being the new norm. Um, these homophobic, striped collared alligator shirts, khaki wearing, frosted tip, spiky haired, um, Limp Bizkit fans that, just a couple of years ago were LFO fans. Um, they were all about their white privileged, date rape, shell necklaced life. And these types of the assholes really got uh, caught for, they got caught for their indiscretions and ruined it for the rest of us because their mothers were those soccer moms that would refuse to blame the child themselves and blame the video games and blame the television. And this was all happening around the late 90s with the whole soccer mom just brigade. And it was just amazing how they could pass the buck so easily. Now, I often say that the mission of and the job of every human being is to uplift the person beside them rather than belittling them. So once these, we call them Chads now, once they started playing the victim, their mothers, which were all Karens, began their own specific crusades. And so, as we've talked about, the different intangible angles of strength and the tangible, you have to think, how many of these strong alpha types have you seen break down throwing childlike tantrums? It happens all the time, especially in the in that Hollywood industry, and I just don't want people to forget about things like that. And so to turn around and look at somebody and understand how flawed they are and understand them from a very human point of view, that takes a very serious mental strength. And to basically play the victim all the time is such a simple cop out that it's done all the time. And so I know we had already talked about the I'm going way over time here, but whatever. And when I talked about, friends that don't have your best interests at heart, this is where strength really comes to play and comes into play, and you really want to access that strength and show that you don't want to just tolerate the same crap from all these people. And so there's so much to digest there. And again, it's really just saying that most of the time you have far more mental strength than you have physical strength. And that is not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. And the last thing that this country's government really wants is people that are capable of critical thinking. And I think that it is going to get to a point where critical thinking is no longer going to be, not only is it not the norm, but it's going to be such a thin majority because of all the myths and disinformation available to you on the internet. And that doesn't mean that the internet isn't an incredible place to gain information. It really is, as long as you know where you're looking. Alright? So, with that, I would like to tell you guys to just stay strong. And, give us some comments. Let us know what you think. Add on to the conversation. And stay tuned. Tomorrow, we'll have a whole new episode for you. We tend to write them in the daytime, so I can never tell you what it's probably going to be about unless I already have an idea. So, as usual, if you have any friends that are struggling with mental health or have any kind of mental issues that are coming to a boil, if this sounds like you, if this sounds like someone you know, please have them contact us at uselessagentmusic@gmail.com. And we're always happy to talk to anybody that wants to talk to us. And I just really want to say thanks a lot for the support. The support on the street that I get from random people, and of course from my girl Red. She's just a huge reason why this show exists, and I can't thank people like her enough. So we love you. Stay safe, and don't forget to take care of yourselves, but mainly take care of your neighbors and those around you, and always pay it forward. Alright? We love you guys, and as always, I will see you on the other side, okay? So, thanks a lot, and you guys have a great day.
Useless Agent is on your TV, laptop, or your PC, whatever you call it. Useless Agent is on